So welcome to the virtual free live women's circle. This is October 26th, and we are really excited to be doing this and providing this space for women, both live and through a recording. So if you're watching this through the recording, you're able to follow our flow that we created for you and do some steps to tap into your new identity, to release some pieces of yourself that are no longer dated, that are no longer relevant and serving who you are and who you want to become. So that being said, this whole circle is meant to help you uncover your identity that will serve your future and your highest self. And so we have Dawn and I want to introduce her in just a moment. We have come up with a flow for you to utilize tonight or whenever you're watching this recording and help you move through this process. And this is a little bit of a teaser to our upcoming event on 11/11/2016 in the Bay Area, and we'll be telling you about that in a minute. So I want to introduce you to the lovely Dawn Bennett, and her company is Body Healing Power, right? bodyhealingpower.com.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for being here, Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you all hopefully know who I am. If you don't, I'm Michelle Powell, and my website is michellepowell.me, and I am a life coach, a feng shui consultant, and a professional organizer. So I love helping women create sacred space and feminine flow. And Dawn, I would love for you to share how you help women.
Mm-hmm. So I use a bunch of tools and resources that I've gathered over my 19 plus years in the healing field, including craniosacral work, classical homeopathy. So what I really do is I help women and people in general dig into kind of where are their physical and mental and emotional things coming together and help them find a place of healing out of that. So sometimes it's body work, sometimes it's using remedies, sometimes it's doing different types of tools that you can use at home in order to really keep yourself moving forward in a really positive and supported way.
I love it. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just share here how this is going to work tonight. So first, Dawn and I are going to share our stories and a few pieces about how we came together on this, about identity, why identity is coming up. And then we're going to share some of the pieces of kind of the prequel to what we're going to share in our workshop coming up. So Dawn has prepared some things to take you through, and I've prepared some things to take you through that will ignite something in you that you haven't been thinking of, hopefully. And then we will go back to how you can start to move forward and answer any questions you have about our upcoming workshop if anyone is interested in coming to that. And if no one is, we can also share some of the details that we can predict you would be wondering as of now. And then we'll end with the gratitude. And for this recording, we won't be recording any of the women's shares. So we'll be stopping the recording a little over halfway through. So those of you that are listening to the recording won't be hearing the women's shares. So that's the point of being live. All right. So I'd love for Dawn, do you want to start us off? Because I know that you have some powerful questions for Laura here and the women listening to the recording. And I would love to know, what is your story, or what is some piece of your past that really makes you passionate about talking about identity and moving forward in life in that regard?
Mm-hmm. Great. So I think the reason identity is coming up for me and so many of the women I'm working with right now is because it really feels like this is a big time of transition for everybody. A lot's changing in our world and our universe. And one of the big keys that most of my clients bring up is something about usually where they feel stuck around who they want to be versus where they are, or a piece about something that their parents or an adult mentor or a teacher when they were younger, or sometimes even a relationship, has kind of put them in a box. So that could be, oh, my sister was the beautiful one and I was the smart one. Or it could be something like, oh, you're never going to succeed unless. Or sometimes identity pieces come out of just a lack of understanding of where a person's strength is. And so one of the things I wanted to go through tonight and in future workshops and in future circles is just help people tap into what is that one key thing that you're really ready to shift as far as your own identity, as far as your own self-worth, your piece of speaking your truth and being really your true authentic self that you can take forward into the world for the next week, 2 weeks, month, until it becomes more natural, and then work on the next piece. Totally. And one of the things that kept coming up for me as I was preparing was really some of the identity pieces that I struggled with for a long time really came for me from watching my parents do certain things, right? And so we all model ourselves after our adult influencers, whether that be our parents or our guardians or grandparents or whoever we really looked up to. Or it can come from relationships, right? Whether that be friend relationship or a personal relationship. So one of the ones that really for me resonated that I wanted to talk about briefly just to get people's minds rolling is how I learned to speak my truth, which actually is a continual process, right? And I think it is for all of us where we learn to speak different levels of truth at different ages, at different times in our life. We finally step into who we are and really learn not to judge ourselves and really don't care if other people judge us for really what it is we truly are bringing to the world, what we feel and believe. So I was in a relationship for a long time where my boyfriend had been verbally abused by his mother, and she was actively verbally abusive still, even though he was in his 20s, and would verbally abuse him in front of me and so on and so forth. So every time he got mean and angry to me and was abusive to me verbally, I just looked at him with a lot of compassion, right? And I thought I was doing this great, wonderful thing for himself and me by just being quiet, taking it all, and just being like, okay, well, that's just his thing because that's what he learned from his mom, and I feel bad for him. But one of the things I learned through my journey is that wasn't helpful for him or for me, right? Because I wasn't learning healthy boundaries. I wasn't speaking for who I needed to be. And it also didn't teach him any better. So in his next relationship, he learned that was okay to move that forward, right? So one of the things I worked on and continue to work on is how can I gently speak my truth to other people, but still yet come from a place of compassion.
I love that, by the way. I just want to share. I love that, gently speak my truth. That's gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you. Because I think that's the challenge, right? Is sometimes we feel, especially as women, that if we speak our truth, we're being mean, or people are going to think that we're wenches, or whatever that word is in our head, right? So to come forward in a really truthful and strong way can, in certain circumstances, be challenging. So I just wanted to start out with some questions, and you can kind of write down the answers for yourself or just kind of think of them. But just really tune in to what is one thing that you remember from your childhood or from your early years that your parents or your adult influencer or a relationship, what is one thing that you remember them saying about you or to you over and over again that really influences who you are today, right? Or who maybe you took on, whether you wanted to consciously or subconsciously. And these can be both quote unquote positive and negative things, right? Sometimes people get pushed into perfectionism or severe success because that's what they were expected to do, right? So it doesn't have to be.
Dawn, I actually have a question. What age range are we looking for here?
I would say 25 or under.
Okay.
Because different people are working with different areas of their lives right now. And for the second question, think of one thing that you consistently at this point in time in your life either get upset at yourself about or judge yourself for. And then I want you to think and write down how those two things impact how you currently are able to show up in the world for yourself and for others. Both in a quote unquote positive and negative way, right? Because out of each challenge, we also draw strengths. And just also as you're writing that, just take a moment to tune in and feel where in your body you're feeling that. Because often we hold these things somewhere in our body and our nervous system. And it's important to release from our body as well as from our soul and spirit and mind. All right. Well, good. And we can share some things about that at the end as well, once we're done with the recording.
I can share. I'm open for this to be on the recording. I think I definitely would love some more time with this. I love those questions. I think questions are so powerful just to reflect on. So those questions are really powerful that you said. I would love to do that on my own, just to journal on my own, like what can come up in more time, right? But what came up for me is what I always talk about the light and the shadow. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say that? Like the light and the shadow of a certain thing or a certain characteristic. And so what I've always been told is that I've been compulsive. And that's actually part of my superpower because it enables me to be quick thinking and to be an innovator. Because I know when something's out of integrity or when I want something, I can recognize that. And so that was really cool to see that connection that you asked, what do you judge about yourself and what do people tell you? And then how do you use that to show up in the world? So that was fascinating to me to connect those pieces even for myself. Yeah. So
lovely.
Yeah.
And Laura, you may share if you want. You don't have to, but okay.
Now, Dawn, do you have anything to share about how you came into this knowing, especially of those questions, the flow of those questions?
I've done a lot of work personally and with my clients about some of these patterns, right? Because if you look at children and how they act, right, they mimic a lot, right? That's how we learn. We mimic what our parents say, what we see around us, what our teachers say, what our friends say. And some of those things just move through us very easily and effectively because we move on to be different people. But some of those things do have a deeper, longer lasting impact, right? They have that emotional attachment to it. Even in body work, it's interesting how they're talking about if someone, let's say if someone's running, the doorbell rings, right? You're running down the stairs to go get the doorbell and you fall down the stairs, right? If you're running down the stairs because you're annoyed that someone rang that darn doorbell and you're in the middle of your shower and you're really annoyed about it, that will actually set in the nervous system as a pain and can actually, for some people, hold in there as like a trauma, right? So when I'll start doing body work with people, they'll be like, oh, that's where I hurt my hip when that darn person knocked on my door. However, when someone is running down the stairs because their best friend's at the door and they're super excited, often that's a different energy that gets in the body, and it can be released much more easily because it's something that's more full of excitement and light and movement rather than that dark, heavy energy. And so the same thing happens when we learn things as kids and as teens and as young adults, and also as regular adults. But we're much more easily susceptible and influenced when we're younger, and those things pattern in our nervous system as well, just as much as a fall or a trauma can do. So it's important, I feel, to really, really tune into that, but just one thing at a time, right? Because we can get lost down the rabbit hole of all these things that we're doing wrong or judging ourselves for. It's nice to focus on just one thing at a time and really go through a process to release that, honor that, have gratitude for the lessons it's taught us, and then be able to move forward.
So beautiful. Thank you so much, Dawn.
Yeah.
And you're going to be in the workshop on 11/11. You're going to be guiding women through actually physically releasing these stuck emotions that may be present, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Amazing. Yes, this is important to note. If anyone's in the Bay Area and you want to release these stuck emotions, you got to come to our workshop. Or hire Dawn if you're in Minnesota.
That's it. That's it.
Oh my gosh, so beautiful and so succinct in relating our past to where we want to go, our future. And some people, the reason why I'm so passionate about this is because I believe some people don't correlate the two. They just want to focus on their future, right? Would you agree? Everyone's like,
Yes.
I want to focus on where I want to go. I'm going there, ambitious, got to climb to the top. And even if they're not that, so whatever about it, they're still focusing on that and not seeing what their past may be holding them back from. So yeah, I think you touched on a very deep part of how we hold on to things physically that may even seem insignificant, right?
Right.
And yeah, that was a really big piece of what I got from what you were saying too. And it's all about honoring, I believe it's all about honoring who we are as a whole, in what I call a holistic way, which I'm sure you believe as well, the spiritual, the mental, the physical, and the emotional sides of us, because that's the only way that we can truly, fully heal and grow. Because if one of those pieces is off, and then we heal these parts, and we're like, why can't we grow? Because they're not aligned. It's not aligning fully. It's not healing fully or whatnot. So what I believe that we can both complement and offer our participants, both tonight and thinking about the topics that we're talking, and of course at the workshop, is the blend of all of those four things: the spiritual, the mental, the physical, emotional, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Seeing how they correlate, what parts of the past of those four things exist still. What of the future of those four things need to be cultivated? That's the most fascinating part about identity to me. And the reason I resonate with that is because I felt the same way. I didn't consider my past or family history or trauma as a child. I'm like, I'm fine. I'm over it. No. Yeah.
There's always a level, right?
Yes.
Through a lot. Absolutely. Powerful is.
So it's hilarious. The human being is just so funny. I'm fascinated by it. So I feel like the part of me that was impacted the most was my career, my success in my career and my business. And when it came to identity, at least, I don't know. I actually don't know where it came from. Maybe it's just the stories. You know how I said I would love some more time to be introspective with those questions that you shared. But maybe it's the stories around what I've been told as I was successful or not. But when I started my own business, it was out of frustration on working for the man and corporate and people I didn't respect and a job I hated, and that was just totally bringing me down. But I felt like I never wanted to be an entrepreneur because my mom was, and she had a really hard time through it. So she did make a lot of money, but it was at the expense of a lot of things. And it brought us a little distance as well. And so I created stories in my mind that, entrepreneurship or success is at a cost. You got to work really hard. You have to be a certain kind of person to do it. That you have to be successful and like a really high earner for it to be worth it. Right? So super really like a 6-figure kind of person for it to be worth it at all. And that's the stories I carried around when I started my business. And then for 3 years, I was just miserable because I was like, I'm not any of these. What am I doing? So I was struggling for quite a while in, first of all, integrating that it's a process, but second of all, integrating who I am in that business and really uncovering what the authentic growth was for me. And then it would have been fine and great. And success, really the success part is what I had to redefine, So part of the identity that really has an impact on me when I think of the word identity is the stories we tell ourselves and who we believe we are. So when I think of my old self, I think of compulsive. I shared that. I think of I don't know enough. I think of I can't handle all the details that are needed to be the most successful entrepreneur ever. Perfectionist, right? So these are the stories that prevented me from truly just accepting the success that was available to me. So I think that part of the identity that we identify with now relates to the stories that we tell ourselves, which relate to the questions you asked, right?
Yes.
So it also comes down to mindset. And that's where I had to focus a lot on my own self was mindset. What am I telling myself? What is my inner dialogue? So, and also, where am I cultivating that inner dialogue from? Do you know what I mean? I was asking myself this. And so I never really envisioned myself as successful. I was just trying and pushing and striving and doing things out of obligation and trying to overcome who I am intrinsically, thinking that is going to get me success. And then I realized, well, where is my authentic success going to come into play? And so I never really envisioned myself. I never had the intentional path or tactic involved. And so that's what's changed my life is intention. That's the magic that I hold on to all the time is the power of intention and really seeing our true selves, our perfect selves, perfect meaning of divine way, not of society's way. Just seeing ourselves in that light of what we want. So the success, whatever that looks like for us. And as soon as I started to cultivate that and tap into that was when I started actually having success in my business, getting the clients that I wanted, being happy in the work that I was doing. I started the life coaching at that point. It grew my business. So I aligned with it. That's basically what it is. I aligned with my identity of what was going to be my future and serve me. And so that's what I'd love to take you guys through now. And Dawn, you can do this too. You can do the exercise.
I will.
Yeah. But I'd love to take everyone through a visualization, just because when do we create the time to do this, right? So it's so sparse in our life, in our busy lives now, that we have the time to, first of all, connect with women. That's so powerful in general. Just hearing and sharing and being seen and heard. That's why we created the space tonight. But also really seeing our future self in the way that we want to be. Because normally we think of the how. How do we get to be successful? The success isn't defined. We just want to get the how. So what I'm inviting everyone to do tonight is think of what does success mean? What is that identity? What is that goal that you'd like to reach and be? And the how will reveal itself when we soften and open. So let's close our eyes. And I want everyone to picture themselves coming into a dark movie theater. And sit down, find your place wherever you'd like to sit, and the movie starts. The pre-credits are rolling. You can take a deep breath and find that seat that you're in and take in the scene and get excited for the new movie that's about to play. And this movie is actually of your ideal future self and her life about a year or 2 years from now. And just notice what this movie starts to become. What actions are in play? What are the scenes as you watch this movie of your future self? What is she doing, pretty much? What is that one goal that you'd like to achieve, that you're watching her be in right now in the next year or two? Or what is that persona or that character that you'd like to embody? That's what I want you to visualize in this movie. So what is she doing? Who is she interacting with? What does she represent in this future? What are the characteristics that she represents? What is she looking at? What people, what environment, where is she surrounded by? What is she hearing from people? What are they saying to her? Or what noises does she hear around her? Maybe you notice what she's smelling. Just the 5 senses that are present, if you can picture that, as if you are in the movie with her. And then inevitably in every movie there's some turning point where something goes wrong or is thrown off. So at that point, how does she respond to that? How does she respond to that fear or the judgment or the crisis or whatever comes up? And notice how that's different than you right now. And then you just think to yourself, well, man, she believes something special about herself for her to deal with it in that way. What does she believe about herself? For her to deal with that thing, that crisis, that fear, that judgment, turning point, what does she believe about herself or the world? And how does she deal with that? And then this movie ends with her fading away and coming back like she's talking to the audience. And really you see that she's talking to you specifically. And she has advice for you as your future self. And what advice is she giving you? What do you need to know in order for this movie to come to fruition in your real life? What does she want you to know? And then when she's complete, the movie fades away to black and credits roll. Your number one cast. And you get up and start to leave the theater. And as you leave, the memory dissolves and you come back into your space and time right now and open your eyes. And just feel how that was for you. Was it cool? Was it weird? Was it inspiring? Was it illuminating? Was it bad? Just notice that. And just be with whatever that is. And like I said, it's rare that we envision our future self, right? We don't really give ourselves the time to dream. And knowing that the dream helps us create an intention that we can begin to take action on and really decide what we're going to do and who we're going to be. And that's what creates our actions, of course, but our priorities. And it helps us focus in on the actions that will have the most impact for us. And that's what I call intentional living. That's what changed my life. I'm sure that's what changed John's life in some way. I don't want to speak for you. I just know that you're intentional about life. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So that's my biggest takeaway. And in our workshop, we're going to dive into the specifics of what intentional living means, and what tools need to be in place, mindset things need to be in place in order for us to move forward and utilize that dream. Because dreams, what is that quote? Dawn, do you know that quote about dreams being useless? Let me try to think of it right now. It just came to me, so I wasn't preparing this. It's I can't remember. It's like intention without action is just a dream, I think.
I've heard it before.
Yeah, something like that. And so we need those dreams, we need the actions, we need the intentions, we need the support and all of that. So that's really my point and what I would love to share with the world and help both my colleagues and myself and women across the world just understand how powerful they are in what they can cultivate within themselves. Just like Dawn took us through uncovering what we were holding on to, what we already knew, and I didn't even think about it. Mm-hmm. And same thing I just did with the future and how we can get there if we tap into what we believe in. So Dawn, do you want to share a little bit more about how you're going to serve the women in the workshop on 11/11?
Absolutely. And we'll do this after the recording ends as well, because we just sussed up these questions and now we're sitting there with these questions kind of unanswered and still in our body. So we'll go through a series of not only a process within the workshop to release some of that. There's some tools that you can use both on your own, but also, the energy of multiple people doing something at once always heightens the way that we can release. So we'll go through a circle there, we'll do some sharing, and then we'll use a few different tools to release in different ways, because often many, many things are combined together to form one issue, right? There's kind of like multiple things multiple aspects that need to be cleared. So we'll go through that at the workshop and do some releasing and quote unquote ceremony around kind of letting it go, and then also coming from a place of gratitude for what that brought us, and whatever happened to us, because having gratitude for the lessons we've learned is also very important in moving forward. Kind of a forgiveness, gratitude lesson as well.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Gratitude to me, it amplifies something. So, I love that gratitude piece. I can't wait. Cannot wait. Beautiful. And what I'm going to share with everyone is number one, building the space like this, having a women's circle gather in real life. I love what you said, Dawn, about the power of more people. I think the quote I've heard is, when two or more are gathered, the power is amplified. Something like that. Mm-hmm. We're not on our quotes tonight. That's what's not happening. But that's the deal too. In person, even now, like, our intentions are swirling together for the purpose of growing. It's powerful. It's more powerful than if we were just sitting by ourselves in our space journaling. Blah, blah, blah. Right. So that's my favorite thing to bring together is women in circle for a purpose and offering the space for them to be seen and heard. That's so powerful. And what I'm going to share with everyone, Dawn, is how to take it beyond where you're going, right? So after we feel it and release it and harness that gratitude, what do we do with that dream or desire? How do we actually cultivate the new identity that we're really looking to be, right?
Right.
So that's what I'm going to share with the women there on the actual steps that we need to utilize and cultivate and focus on, instead of being scattered in our actions and instead of just dreaming, right? So that we tend to do one or the other. Because we all do that. We have a tendency to do that. So that's what I'm going to take them through. And then we're going to have lunch and we're going to be together and we're going to go on a gratitude power walk, and it's going to be amazing. And gifts. It's going to be so fun. I get so excited for these things. So I'm excited. So that being said, I feel like what we talked about tonight, this circle is still valuable. It still gets us thinking, even you and I, Dawn, we're both still thinking about each other's direction and leadership that we've given tonight, and seeing how can we cultivate more of ourselves, because you're right. You said earlier, you're still working on it. We're all still cultivating our best self, and we need the support of other women to do that. It's not like we get there and we're like, we're done, I'm good. No. We have to have each other consistently. And so I believe in the importance of creating that space to do so, Yes. Beautiful. So I think that is it for the recording.
Yep. Just mention for those that are interested in the workshop from the recording, it's michelle.powell@me.com/1111.
1111, baby.
Because it's on 11/11.
Yes.
And you can get all the information on the workshop there and sign up. We do have early bird registration still.
Yes.
And that's that.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. The early bird registration actually ends tonight. Mm-hmm. So if you want to take advantage of that, if this feels like a calling for you, please take advantage and sign up tonight. And help us spread the word. If you know people in the Bay Area or in California, around the Bay Area that want to drive in, spend the weekend, then this would be a great opportunity for that to happen.
Great.
Yeah. So michellepowell.me/1111. 1111. I know it's kind of confusing. Beautiful. So thanks for everyone that watched this recording, and I would love to know what was most valuable for you, what came up for you through Dawn's exercise or my exercise, and just share with us in the event, or you can email us. My email is michelle.powell@me.com, and Dawn, your email is?
Dawn@bodyhealingpower.com.
Beautiful. Yes.
Nice long email addresses for everybody.
It's all good. Beautiful. Thank you so much for everyone who listened to the recording, and we'll stay on for the remainder of the live circle. So thank you all. I'll see you later.